gang. You know, sometimes you think about predictabilities and daily routines. I just like everybody else, I have a daily routine. But watching Facebook and other social networks, people sometimes get lost in their path, get lost in where they're going. I do the same thing. I get wrapped up in life. I get wrapped up in trying to make a living and doing day-to-day things, taking care of responsibilities. So you get wrapped up in that daily routine, if it were, being so predictable. I mean, my typical daily routine doesn't change, up to and including the occasion when I buy my breakfast instead of eat at home. I go to the same drive-thru, I order the same thing, and every once in a great while I'll change, but the next time I do the drive-thru, well, I'm ordering the same thing I always order and getting the same thing I always get. And it's kind of funny, the weekends are pretty much the same routine as any other weekend. You know, you do what's got to be done, you take care of business. Very seldom do you ever actually change that daily routine. Well, I wanted to do the video blog not to talk about the daily routine and predictability, but the routinely destructive behavior that people do. Some people, when things start going really good and things start happening on a forward momentum in their life, they'll say something, they'll do something, or they'll perform an action that causes it all to go to hell in a handbasket. And that's actually part of that routine. It's a daily routine of something that has always been done. It's always been done a particular way, and it'll always be done until we see our momentum and our actions causing a momentum that's going to cause a destructive behavior to cause things negatively to happen. I've always found that rather interesting. Self-destructive behavior I've talked about before, but I've never actually talked about where it comes from. Well, routine destructive behavior, or just simple destructive behavior that has become a habit, usually comes from environmental programming. It's the type of thing that we've always been used to. Either someone's always doing something self-destructive to us so that we think we're not worth it, or we've grown so used to just about the time things start going good, something has to break, that we put out that energy. We put out that energy waiting on the other shoe to drop, so to speak. When things really start going good and good things are happening and you've got a positive momentum carrying forward and life is going good, you will subconsciously, inadvertently do something to screw it up, or to cause it to go bad, as it were, or do something to piss someone off if you or hurt someone's feelings, so that it all of a sudden doesn't seem like it's, going so good. I've done it. I do it from time to time. but not near as much as I used to, because over the years I've become accustomed to watching for signs of my own negative, routine, destructive behavior. So before I say something or before I type something, I generally take a look at where it's coming from. Why I feel I need to do that. And I mean, I did it today, apologetically enough. Chatting with a friend of mine, and without even thinking about it, I said something that caused an issue, and after going back and rereading it, I was like, well, shit, yeah, I said that. Knowing full well, subconsciously, it was going to cause an issue. Subconsciously, I guess I thought, well, things are going too well, and things are really going good, and we're having a hell of a day at work, but even that's working itself out. So I guess subconsciously I need to say something to screw it up. Yeah, well, I did. So I guess this is that apology. But it's also being sensitive to certain behaviors of other people that we know are going to trigger certain switches within our action and reaction abilities, or simplex, if you will. Because as we all know, every action has an equal or opposite reaction. Well, again, to our routine, we each have a routine way of acting or reacting to something that has happened to us, with us, or around us. And the only way we're ever going to change that is to change our reaction to other people's actions. Oh yeah, sometimes that's a bitch. Sometimes it's hard to do. Sometimes it's almost downright seemingly impossible to do. But the problem that I find with routines is you become so complacent in your daily routine. Everything just kind of becomes modelly loping along, just like an old horse that walks the same path, the same speed, at the same time every day to get to his food or his water. Well, eventually there's no more drive, there's no more spice for life or the living of it. Now, granted, we all have a job to do, whether it's getting up and going to a job, or it's taking care of family members, or taking care of children, a house. We all have responsibilities and things that we have to do that are daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. And those particular repetitive jobs, they generally change very little. My basic day-to-day job, the basics of it changes very little. Now, the aspects of it change on a day-to-day basis. Our motto is, if you think inside the box, you'll never survive in our line of work. So that kind of breaks up the routine of the daily grind, if you will. But when I get off of work, I fall right back in that routine. I sit in traffic. I drive a car. I generally drive the same basic way. You almost have to. Get your ass run over, right? But I go home. I do the same thing when I get home. And alarm goes off at 5 o'clock in the morning. I get up and I do the same basic thing every morning.